Hmm.
Spirits of the dead. Spirits of the living. We happy few, kindred welcome. Why don't we all come in, as there's so very few of us? Welcome to our live vigilers. We can count on two hands how many of us there are here on this cold night. And welcome to Jackie B through the camera, to our regular Zoom vigilers as well. Oh, it feels too intimate to be giving a what am I going to say?
It smells nice.
Oh,
It
Lovely.
smells really nice. Yeah, strangely nice.
Lovely. Well, strangely, we did it on purpose, though.
No, there's other smells. I can smell
Is
it. I came
there?
up the road and it was like this, just like perfume came to me.
That's what we are. We're the perfumed garden, as you can see on the adverts. Welcome to the 200th vigil for the outcast. Sorry, I keep getting my attention taken away by people doing other things. It's not. I'll concentrate more. Welcome to the 219th vigil for the outcast. We've been standing here for almost 19 years, every single month on the 23rd of every month. John Constable, who retired 2 or 3 years ago, served the goose here in Southwark for 23 years. And before he left, he organised a group of us called the Magical Collective. So some of us can be Master of Ceremonies for the MC, some of us are Mistress of Ceremonies for the MC. I, of course, am Madam of Ceremonies, because being too old to be a goose, I'll never be too old to be a madam. So there we were, the Magical Collective. We were running the vigils, and the Magical Collective still runs the vigils, but since COVID happened, I'm the last one standing. So if anybody else wants to join the Magical Collective and help me stand here and do this sort of thing, then you'll be very welcome to come and talk to me at some future time. So yes, what John did, the first thing he did was stood at these very gates, and the goose came hurtling from the other world, eternity, into this world. She might have looked a bit like this as she tore her way through the veil and started talking to him. And he downloaded through the spirit of his shamanic double, John Crow, all of what the goose told him, which is what we stand here for in the main, for the healing, for the benedictions that come from being by these gates. Because when we stand at the gates, we cultivate a kind of Southwark state of mind. The goose says, you think Southwark is only a place. I say she's a state of mind. So we develop a kind of Southwark state of mind in which we cultivate a different kind of vision from the vision that we have when we're in the world. We're in the world and everything's opposite, us against them, black against white, against down. The powerful against the outcast. All sorts of divisions and dualities. But when we come here, we look at the world in a different way. In a deeper way, we see through things. These gates are still the gates, the iron gates where John stood and the goose channeled her mystery into him. But they're also a portal. They're a portal between one world and another. Hello, darling. Between the living, as we are over here, and the dead on the other side. or as has already been mentioned, the world of time broken into by the world of eternity. Goose says, I don't remember what Goose says. I'll tell you what Goose says in a minute. Something about time stops. Time stops and eternity starts as she comes through. And so we stand here, instead of being simply individuals gathered in the street, by turning our attention here and away from the more obvious world of outside, we start to feel and see things as if we were one. One mind, one love, all here. The goose does say, all her children gathered there, endowed with grace and dignity, the deformed and the deviant embraced into her unity. This is us tonight. We happy few. So that's the what we do here. Why we do it is because of what's on the other side of the gates. What's on the other side of the gates is Crossbones graveyard. It's now a memorial garden for the outcast dead. In order to achieve, hello, you're very welcome. Are you here for the vigil? Yes. Join in. Do come and gather in. We're just talking about a bit of the history. So for 200 years, in the 1700s and the 1800s, this was a graveyard. It belonged to the local church, St Mary Overy, St Saviour and St Mary Overy, which is now Southwark Cathedral. But before that, we believe it was another graveyard. This is why people in those days, in the 1700s, fought to have this preserved as a graveyard, because it was intended to be sold in the 1700s, when TfL decided that they were going to build a 10-storey office block in early 1990s. People fought then as well. Crossbones has been fought for and saved several times. So what is left of the graveyard now holds the mortal remains of 15,000 people. The ordinary people of these streets, the poor of these streets, who lived in crowded, disease-ridden poverty, that couldn't afford a proper burial, were kind of thrown away in here. By the time they were forcibly made to close the graveyard in 1853, they were burying people less than a foot down. And the people who were inspecting the site were saying that it is overcharged with dead. It must have been very difficult, because within the city there wasn't, there wasn't too much space. So where are you going to bury your people? But you would have thought that they could have done something better by these people. But these people were the poor people, the throwaway people, the people that didn't really matter. Babies found in the street, men's bodies brought out from the river, people who died in the workhouse. Those are the sort of people that are buried here. And what is also remembered here, even if their bones are not buried here, but is the memory of the Winchester geese. Because way back in the medieval days, this square mile of London was known as the Liberty of Winchester. Sometimes it was known as the Liberty of the Clink. And there were many, many brothels in the area, because Borough High Street that goes down across the top here towards London Bridge, where London Bridge was the only bridge to the city of London, the brothels filled both sides of the road. The bishops of Winchester owned this area. They made the rules. They took the rents from their people. The women who worked in the brothels were called Winchester geese, because they were seen to be working for the Bishop of Winchester, because he got all their money. He took the rents. when they paid their fines, they paid them into the church's coffers. But when they died, because they were Jews and on the wrong side of the fence, refused a Christian burial, they were buried in unconsecrated ground. The story is this is where they are buried. But even if they're not buried here, we hold their memory and we treasure their memory. And the goose came charging through from John, protecting her outcast dead, inspiring all of us. John Constable, all the work that he did over the years he did, us that run the vigils. I wouldn't say what spirit encouraged the woman who started the Still the Crossbones Graveyard campaign, but she has fought like a Trojan to keep Crossbones Graveyard not only open, but open for the people as a sanctuary, as a place of pilgrimage, as a place of peace and healing. Healing is what we come to. Healing is what we want to give and to receive. The closer to the gates you get, the closer to that edge space. Space in between two places, the space in between two worlds, two states of mind, if you like. The ancients knew that in those places, something transformative happens. When one thing transforms into the other, magic happens. The closer you are to the gates, the nearer you are to the goose's mystery and to the magic of this healing place. So do feel free to come closer. We do step forward to the gates and back as we perform the vigil, as we flow in and out, leaving the ribbons on the gates and so on and so forth. I think I've said enough as an introduction. We're here to honour the outcast, both dead and alive. We're here to refresh and renew the shrine with our ribbons and our prayers and ourselves. We're here to practice being one. The living, the dead, those yet to be, all together in a single unified consciousness of mutual healing. And when the noise of the city gets too much, we don't bury it in that. We see it just as a thing that belongs to that bit of the world. Every single one of us has made a kind of pilgrimage here tonight. Every single one of us at some point has thought, I'm coming to Crossbones. And our focus has turned from that world to this world. As we've travelled here, and here we all are, the noises of the city will be there. Hello, day 500. Didn't see you in the background there. All the noises of the city. Let them rise, let them fall. They'll be there, and then they're gone. So don't let that trouble us. I do sometimes let people like the biker trouble us, but look at him, he's getting off. Love him. Bruce, love him. There you go. Okay. So we do 4 or 5 very simple rituals to forward the vigil. And the first ritual we do is we hold the light. There was a book written many years ago that said, in the beginning was the word. They got it wrong. In the beginning was the silence. So we start where we start, at the very beginning, holding the light. For 1 minute, one person, I'll invite somebody to come and stand in a minute and hold the light for us. One person holds this light, and we, each of us, hold for 1 minute that same light inside ourselves. the rest of us, the rest of what we are, can just drift back like the rest of the world until we have a single light shining in the shining emptiness. This is the physical manifestation. And while we're standing here holding the light, if there's a thought in our minds at all, it's the thought that all the beings in all the worlds may be truly in liberty. Would you care to? I've got a little friend of yours. What's your name again?
Melissa Joe.
Melissa Joe is going to hold the light for us, and I'm going to ding the gong up. So thank you, Melissa Joe. Now, normally at this point, our next ritual would be the one that we call the act of binding and loosing. But because it's January the 23rd, you might not know this, but you're on there for my mother's birthday. Happy 102nd. She's been gone a good while, but she wouldn't let you understand that's not really why you're here. Almost every vigil that happens on the 23rd of every month, we celebrate a special time, either a special time in the year, the solstices, our rituals, our vigils are near the solstices. April is obviously 23rd is St. George's Day, so on and so forth. 23rd of January is what we call the portal to Imbolc, because Imbolc, which is an ancient ceremony that happens round about the beginning of February, that marks the very, very first beginning of the signs of spring. Even though it might be the coldest time of year, and the ground is hard, things are happening. Snowdrops, the first of the flowers, that you wouldn't believe that those little tiny fragile things could grow up through rock hard, ice cold, frozen ground. There they are in February for the sign. It's a sign of hope of spring to come. Imbolc is the day of Bridie. In the ancient days, it was Bridget's Day. It's also St. Bridget's Day. I'd like to announce, everybody, that in Ireland, St. Bridget's Day is now an official day of celebration, like St. Patrick. Everybody is celebrating St. Bridget on her day. What a great thing to happen. Representative of all the women. In the pagan style, Bridget is a triple goddess. She's the goddess of healing, she's the goddess of smithcraft, and she's the goddess of poetry. So what we traditionally do is we say an incantation for Bridie to bring her to us with all the power of what she brings with her at this time of the year. So what we're going to do is we're going to repeat the Bridie incantation. I will say a sentence, you will say a sentence after me. And there are 3 verses and we'll repeat them 3 times so that we really get it into ourselves. I think what I'll do is I'll stand with you here so that I'm not standing looking. Bridie, I am here.
Bridie,
Bridie,
I
I am here.
With my goose feather quill.
with my
With
goose
my
goose
goose
feather
feather quill.
To trace the lucent songs of the ancients.
To trace
trace
the
the
lucent
lucent
songs of the
ancients.
ancients.
Bridie, I am here.
Bridie,
Bridie, I am here.
With my chalice, snake.
with my chalice
With
my
and
chalice and snake.
With my chalice and snake.
To receive and transmit your healing benedictions.
To
To
receive
receive
and
and
transmit
transmit
your healing
benedictions.
benedictions.
Bridie, I am here.
Bridie,
Bridie,
I
I
am
am here.
With the hammer and tongs.
with the
With the
The
hammer
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 and
and
tongs.
tongs.
To tend your holy fire of transformation.
to
Tend
tend
Tend your holy fire
of
of
transformation.
transformation.
Bridie, I am here.
Bridie,
Bridie, I
Bridie,
am
I am
here.
here.
With the goose feather quill.
with
With
the
the
goose
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 feather
feather
quill.
quill.
The ancient songs. To trace the lucent songs of the ancients.
to
To
trace
Trace the lucent songs of the ancients.
Bridie, I am here with the chalice and snake.
Bridie, I am
Bridie, I am
here
here
with
with
the
the
chalice and
chalice and
snake.
snake.
To receive and transmit your healing benedictions.
To receive and transmit
transmit
your healing benedictions.
Bridie, I am here.
Bridie,
Bridie, I am
Bridie, I
here.
am here.
Bellows and tongs.
with
With
the
the bellows
Bellows
and
and
tongs.
tongs.
Tend your holy fire of transformation.
to
Tend
Tend
your
the holy
holy
fire
of
of transformation.
transformation.
Bridie, I am here. With
Bridie,
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 I
I
am
am
here.
here.
goose feathers quill
to
With your
trace songs of the ancients.
to trace the
To
lucent
trace the lucent songs
of
of the
the
ancients.
ancients.
Bridie, I am here with the chalice and snake.
Bridie,
Bridie, I
I
am
am
here
chalice
with
and
the
chalice
chalice
and
and
snake.
snake.
To receive and transmit your healing benedictions.
to
To
receive
Receive and
transmit
transmit
your healing
benedictions.
benedictions.
Bridie, I am here with the bellows and tongs.
Bridie,
Bridie, I am here with
with
the
bellows
bellows
and
and tongs.
To tend your holy fire of transformation.
to
Tend
Tend
your holy fire
of
of
transformation.
transformation.
So we do.
And so we do.
So we do.
I got a bit taken away by standing in our little time. And then a few moments later, standing in their little time, it was like I was jumping backwards and forwards. There might be one of us here from Australia, which makes it even odder to me because it's tomorrow already. Where he's sitting, it's already tomorrow. How peculiar, isn't it? The things that you have to get around a Crossbones. Okay, so our next act is the act of binding and loosing. Would you hand around ribbons, please? Thank you. Now, what we do here is we refresh and we renew the shrine by hanging our ribbons on the gates. Thank you. Has everybody got one? Now, what we're doing when we hang our ribbons on the gates is up to our what we feel is up to ourselves, obviously. But we suggest things like, thank you. Everybody got it? If you feel that you've got too much love, give some of it away. What we're doing here really all the time is emptying ourselves out from the things that the world fills us up with. So give us a little bit of space to receive something to fill that emptying. So if you've got too much love, hang it on the gates. If you've got a prayer to offer for somebody, hang it on the gates. If you're remembering somebody who's beloved, hang them on the gates. When we say binding and loosing, we bind the thing, whatever we've bound. If we're saying we hope everybody in the world has as lovely a life as I do, what a beautiful prayer to make. But we let it go. And when we walk away, we step away from it because we've given that bit away to the gates for the healing, for the transformation. It also gives us a healing and a transformation because where we've given it away, we've now got a space. Nature abhors a vacuum. It's maybe the only scientific thing I ever remember. If you've got a vacuum, something lovely will come in and fill it in. So how we do our hanging our ribbons on the gates, the act of binding and loosing, we say a poem. And we say it again, we call it an echo prayer. But I say the words and you repeat after me, or you might know the words already. Or if you only hear a few of the words, say what you feel you want to say what you want to echo back.
Can I just ask you, are we going to remember Jim this time?
We remembered Jim last time, but if you'd like to remember Jim again,
Yeah.
when we do the sacred offerings, will you step forward and remember him again? That would be a lovely thing to do. I hung his actual ribbon on the gates last week. Was it you that did it?
I wasn't.
One of us did actually hang his dates in time, but yeah, always remember Jim. James. So we say the echo prayer 5 times to give everybody a chance to come up to the gates, have your commune, do what you want to do, and then step back to give other people room. So if you'd like to repeat after me or say the words with me or just echo bits of things that you feel that you want to say in the prayer, then do that, please. Here lay your hearts, your flowers,
You lay your hearts, your flowers, your book of hours, your fingers, your thumbs,
your miss you mums. Here hang your hopes, your dreams, your might have been, your locks,
your
your keys, your mysteries. Here
lay your hearts,
your flowers, your book of hours, your fingers, your thumbs, your
your
miss you mums. Here hang your hopes, your dreams, your might have been, your locks, your keys, your mysteries. Here lay your hearts, your flowers, your book of hours, your fingers, your thumbs, your miss you mums. Here hang your hopes, your dreams, your might have beens, your locks, your keys, your mysteries. Here lay your hearts, your flowers, your book of hours, your fingers, your thumbs, your miss you mums. Here hang your hopes, your dreams, your might have beens, your locks, your keys, your mysteries. Here lay your flowers, your book of hours,
your
your fingers, your thumbs,
your
your miss you mums. Here hang your hopes, your dreams,
your might
your
have
might have
beens,
beens,
your locks,
your locks, your keys, your mysteries.
Here hang your hopes, dreams, here lay your hearts. Here hang your hopes, your dreams, your might have been, your locks, your keys, your mysteries. Red Cross Mary's looking particularly sparkly tonight, if you care to look through the gates. Crossbones was always a do-it-yourself garden, and people used to bring gifts for the garden, for the goose, for the outcast dead. Mary was given to us by a young Catholic woman, and she became Red Cross Mary, the Radical Mary, Mary over here, Mary over here. Okay, so the next bit of our vigil is what we call the sacred offerings. When John was here, John just oozed goose. And so I never thought twice that I was with goose. But since John has not been here, we try and make an effort to make sure that the goose is here and remembered and repeated. So where we reclaim the goose's mystery, we do that in a part by Goose rhapsoding 2 of the poems that she downloaded onto John. One at the beginning, one at the end. But in the middle, we invite people to come in to offer something of themselves. If they've got a poem or something they want to say, maybe day 500, you want to talk about your boy. Lovely. If anybody wants to tell me that they would like to say something, you're going to talk about him and you would like to say something. That's lovely. Okay. I'm going to start with 2 bits of poems that when the garden is open, there's a kind of triptych on the wall over this side. There's the map of the Liberty, the Goose's Liberty, with all of the places. It's funny when you see the map, because although this graveyard was right on the edge in people's minds, you know, it's on the edge on the outside, it was on the edge of the parish, it was on the edge of the bishop's land, which stretched all the way from his palace, which obviously is still there. But when you actually look at a physical map of the Liberty, Crossbones is right in the middle. with all the places that Goose mentions in her words. So there's on the map is Southwark Cathedral and Winchester Palace and the prisons, the Clink prison, for example, and the Marshalsea. So that's the middle of the triptych. On the left side is the first verse of the first poem in the Book of the Goose, that she downloaded. So this is the first one that I'm going to offer you. I was born a goose of Southwark by the grace of Mary Overy, whose bishop gives me license to sin within the liberty. In bankside stews and taverns, you can hear me onk right daintily as I unlock the hidden door, unveil my secret history. I will dunk you in the river and then reveal my mystery. And on the other side is the triptych, are also goose words, also what she says. She says, for behold, I am Mistress Southwark, and the daughter of eternity, and in me, the broken man, shall be made whole. It's John and the Goose. Would you like to come and speak first, Dave 500? You'll tell everybody why you're Dave 500.
Yeah, I'm going to read a bit out of this book. You know what this book is?
Yes.
It's not your name. I'm going to read your bit out. Right? Right, I'm going to start with this book, which I purchased from eBay. I'll get a light on it. That's the book. It's about stories and glories of graveyards. Crossbones is mentioned in the book. As Jenny said, I've got a number, 500. 500 was the number that I got when I first came here, when I signed a petition to save the graveyard. So that started me coming here. And shortly after that, a year after that, my son passed away. His picture is on the end of the gate there. And I often do searches on the internet for any information about my son, because he was a pirate radio engineer and builder of pirate radio equipment. And he became quite well known. And I was searching through on Google, and I come across this book, but it showed this page here because I put my son's name in, and his name was in the book. So that's why I brought this book here tonight. And I'm going to read a few bits from it.
To hold to talk.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm going to start there, down there, and I'm going to turn that page over. Right, I'll start with this paragraph. More important, perhaps, than that acceptance by the religious and arts establishments is the way in which the graveyard itself has become a focus of ceremony. In the beginning, 1998, each Halloween has been marked by the so-called Vigil of Crossbones. And from the 23rd of June 2004, these became monthly, led by John Constable in his John Crow urban magician persona. Yeah, these have curious ambience, part utterly sincere, magical rite, part playful, bohemian happening, part performance, art Nisa. David Bowie in death was named Angel of the Outcast at a vigil. This was appropriate, as his misfit race, his blurring of gender and sexuality is very Crossbones. But it also gave everybody the chance to have a jolly good sing-along to Starman.
Yeah.
Yeah. I remember it well.
We do it every year, don't we?
Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah. Constable was now 67 and had not of late been in good health. More than that, he felt that his particular vision of Crossbones is a magical work, and it was time to bring it to a close. This then would be his final vigil, which was as Wyatt at 7 p.m, around 300 of us were standing on the street outside the graveyard. The long, tall metal gate was locked. It was a barrier, a threshold. The living on one side, the dead on the other. One day, of course, we would all be on the other side of such a gate. For now, we looked in and wondered. The gate was covered in beads and photos and dolls, shoes and flowers, but mostly in ribbons, on which was written the names of the departed. John Onion, glassmaker, 1725. Jason Fisher, pirate radio DJ. I know you're looking down on me, Jace. Lindsay Kemp, dancer. Yeah, 2018. A crocheted pink hoop bore the names of Tanya, Gemma, Annalie, Paula and Nettie. We remember the murdered girls of Ipswich, it read, as daughters, friends, lovers, mothers, and above all, as women, for all they were and could have been. Through the glare, I could see Red Cross Mary lit by candles, arranged in the Crossbones pattern. Nearby were 8 knee-high concrete figures of what looked like a Buddhist monks. Some of them wore bright red knitted balaclavas. These Jizo statues are associated and miscarried, stillborn and aborted children. The Japanese word for which is Mizuko, or water child. One of the traditions connected with Jizo is that he's the protector of children and would not be able otherwise to enter paradise. A Crossbones regular had told me during my previous visit, just as Christianity, they are complicated traditions around unbaptized children. So in Buddhism, it was believed that the children who hadn't been through the initial rituals wouldn't be able to get over the river into the afterlife. But Jizo, being compassionate, smuggled them through in the folds of his kimono. The statues have been placed in the graveyard by women who had lost children and wanted some kind of ritual which they could express their grief. Jennifer Cooper, the lady with the crow's foot necklace, that's you.
That's me. I've still got it on.
Were here. Of course, if once again she had goose feathers in her hair, they were hidden by sensible woolly hat. She had been coming to Crossbones for 15 years and is part of the collective, which would go on to lead the vigils following John Constable's retirement. Her late husband, Chris, and eldest son, Gary, rest in peace, are remembered on the gate with ribbons and photographs. She explained, as are Chris's parents and brother, there was a time in her life when Cooper suffered from depression and for 2 years could not even speak. But I would come every month to Crossbones and just stand. And this energy just accepted and held me. What can I say? This is my soul place. We're all here together. Thank you very much. Thank you. There you go. And I just want to say, we're all rooting for you, Jason. We're all thinking about you. Angriness, brimstone, forever.
Angriness, brimstone.
Angriness,
forever.
brimstone.
Now,
Thank you very much.
thank you. Thanks, Dave 500. That was amazing. Seeing my name written down that was a bit bizarre. The next thing we're going to try and do is we're going to try and do something that we've never tried to do at Crossbones before.
It's Mark. No,
It's somebody else.
Mark. Yeah.
That somebody else is
Yeah.
going to do something. In the last 3 years since lockdown, not only have we had the live vigils, as you know, but we've also got the Zoom vigils. And in the last few months, we've been doing them together. We used to split up because come the time of the sacred offerings, the people at the other end of the phone couldn't make an offering with us. So we split up, so we made our offerings and they made their offerings. But we've been doing it all together recently, and only the people who are here alive made their offerings. But tonight, with a roll of the drums, please, we have Mark on the Zoom. I don't know how this is going to work and if we'll hear him, but can I introduce Mark?
Hey guys, really nice to be here. How are you doing?
Good.
That's great. I'm loving the innovation of Zoom and reality that's happening at the moment. So can you hear me all right? Firstly?
Yes.
Okay, cool. So I thought I'd read you a poem today, as you said, the portal to Imbolc and Bridie and stuff. I discovered a poem recently written by Rowan Williams. Some of you may have heard of him. He's aware of the Southwark Mysteries and Crossbones because I actually sent him a copy of the book, and he responded saying he loved it. He wrote a poem about the moment when this Roman guy, this Stoic philosopher, decided to visit Gaul, and Gaul was a Celtic place at the time. It's what we know today as France, but they were Druids, right? And the story of Posidonius was his name. He wrote down what he discovered from the Druids in this really popular book, and what he discovered was that the Druids were not barbarians. They were intelligent. They measured the stars. They even knew about the hypotenuse. They knew about complex mathematics. The only thing they didn't do was write things down. So he kind of humanized the barbarian for the Romans, and he actually, ironically, encouraged Caesar to conquer Gaul because Caesar then realized that they were human, like the Romans, and that they could be Romanized. But he did humanize them, and Rowan Williams decided to imagine what it would have been like, this encounter between this Roman guy and these Celtic guys. So, yeah, I thought I'd say this poem from this collection. It's called Posidonius and the Druid. Okay, and you can still hear me, right?
Yes.
Okay, cool.
No.
Okay, without further ado, I'll just get going, and then I'll leave you in peace. Ridges of bone molded, you'd think, by awkward thumbs, freckles, red stubble, and the large, pale, astigmatic eyes. The voice hoarse, fluent, not deep. Well, people come like you, he says, looking for secrets. What we learned from Pythagoras, for a consoling echo of your sweet doctrine from the untouched caves of us poor primitives. Leaning to me. Do you like what I've to show you? Open his hand. A knife, bone-handled, stain and smooth. Your logos is a child, he says, chattering to itself while it plays on the sand. I am a swimmer. I am a salmon and a seal. My streams are made of many fluids, dark swaying plains on which I travel still asleep, or where I leap like silver, the sea, rain on the skin and sweat, tears and the river over stones, my blood and yours. The tide that beats below the skin, or in the pulsing from the severed vein, or from my organ, or from yours, or else the urine from the hanged man jerking among the leaves whose motions speak to me. Over these waves I learn to skim my hands, and in these wells my tongue explores, drinks, words. I take the knife, like rubbing fingers on a worn inscription, read it. In my mind, briefly, flat plains, a straight road running to the edge of things, drab, unfamiliar carts packed close with silent people, knowing and not knowing what this journey is on which they're sent by blood and wisdom and dark, quiet waters. I reach out, breathless for the shore, children and sand, the noise and the unsafety, drift, spars and groundlessness, but still the anchorage proper to talking beings. Thank you. Great to see everyone.
Thank you, Mark. Deeply mysterious. Well, that was a first.
Bring a laptop next time.
Bring a laptop next time. Andy, do you want to come and speak?
Yeah. So I'm here tonight, particularly to remember dear friend of Crossbones, James Gilbert. I was sad I wasn't here for the last vigil because Jim had been visited by death just a couple of days earlier in the solstice. And I know Jen mentioned Jim then, but you know, I wanted to. Jim will be interred, returned to the ground this week, and I couldn't be here and not mention him because there's a spot just over there where I don't think I can ever imagine not being occupied by Jim and Vicky on regular vigils. You know, I'm proud to have called Jim a friend, and he was an ardent voice for political justice and spiritual truth. And I'm happy to say that I met him through a connection with Crossbones, because there was a time when I was documenting the story here, and through the connections in that film thing, I helped Jim make a story that sort of resounds quite a lot with here, because Jim had decided, thinking about Charlie Chaplin, who was a local lad born in this area, and Jim being a long time resident of this part of town, he decided he wanted to remember Charlie by making a film about the ghost of Charlie Chaplin, revisiting East Street and Walworth Road and stuff, you know, in current times. So I sort of helped him make it. And actually, we did make it, but I'm glad to say that we made a sort of a behind the scenes film of it as well, so that Jim, as the director, can be seen in action, which I find really sweet. But you know, as I say, he was an ardent voice, and also a very enduring supporter of the local arts scene. You know, the community arts scene, and sort of performing, playing his saxophone, you know, in different lineups and stuff. And you know, it's going to be missed. It's definitely going to be missed. And so, Jim, open pathways.
Open pathways for Jim.
Open pathways.
Open pathways.
Some of the lady was going to speak. Would you like to speak? Would you like to do your thing?
I would. You're fine. It's actually becoming a bit of a tradition, because I have sung this now on 3 Januaries, 3 consecutive Januaries. I know everybody's freezing unless people are in there are not freezing, but we're pretty freezing here, and I know my toes have gone to sleep, so I'll be quick. But very quickly, I heard the call really in the 90s, back in the 90s, and it took me many years to find this place, but I had heard the songs of the people who are buried here much earlier, and for many years I started writing their songs, And one of the songs that I wrote was by a woman called Sally, who's a street singer, an 18th century street singer, and sometimes sex worker, but she doesn't see it that way. And she has a backstory, which you will learn about in the song. So it's my January song. It's called The Cruel Mother. And actually, thank you for that information about Bridget, because it fits very nicely with Bridget. I didn't know. So it's about cruelty, being cruel to be kind, and being and thinking of others. Yeah, all those maternal instincts. Was in the month of January, the cold I do recall, when my mother drove me from her arms, wearing nothing but a shawl, wearing nothing but a shawl. I long to stay and keep her warm and share her misery, but she made me go and leave her there to find my liberty, to find my liberty. Oh, who was the winter that made my bed of snow, and cruel were the hunger pains that soon I came to know, and cruel from the sun, and cruel the iron chains that round her neck were tied, that round her neck were tied. Though I warble like a lark, sweet songs of joy and cheer, when I hear the sound of rattling chains, me shiver, makes me shiver. And though I was a barefoot child, when I saw my queen, the eye doth never forget the face that once the heart had seen, that once the heart had seen.
Bravo.
Woo!
Is there anybody else that wanted to say something? Sam?
Just to say, new local news, very important. Landsec held a meeting last week for local residents to find out a little more of the findings on the site adjacent to the Crossbones. And most importantly, they have unearthed a mausoleum on that site, which is 1st century, which was probably originally an observation tower, probably from a fort, but became the final resting place of 3 sarcophagus. We don't know who's contained within it, but the findings are so significant on this site that Landsec have agreed that they will house all 4,000 finds in a place for people to be able to visit it in perpetuity, which I suppose is a museum.
No, it's
Of
going to be
sorts of-
on site.
Yeah, on site,
Yeah.
but a museum on site as opposed to somewhere
Somewhere
else,
else.
you know, and that's sort of incredibly exciting, but also important for us to recognize that as a place of burial, this goes back to nearly our first possible record, and possibly even before that. We won't ever know. And you know, when people feel the call to come here, it's very possibly because it's really deeply significant, and this is just not something that we're able to give evidence to, but obviously we're here because we feel it. And you know, the mausoleum is just another indicator that we're on the right track.
Thank you. You like to speak? Yes, sure.
I'll try and keep it brief. This will be my last vigil for the foreseeable future. It's the end of a brief chapter of my life. I've ended up living in London for 3 months. Very strange turn of events. I got plucked out of a very quiet, slow-paced rural life and recruited to work at a think tank just around the corner in the field of AI safety. So this is people worried about artificial intelligence getting out of hand. There's lots of people plowing ahead with it. So very few who are worried about trying to stop the bad things happening. And I've ended up in this strange world somewhat reluctantly. And in the last couple of weeks of my research, now I was reminded about this by Jen mentioning all the beings in all the worlds. And I've been encountering what seemed to be a kind of being in a kind of world. I don't know how to explain it, but I've encountered some very strange things. And it feels like this new frontier that people are pushing into may be leading us into contact with types of minds, types of beings that we don't really know about, we don't really know how to deal with. And so I just like to offer up a prayer for everybody working in this kind of area of technology and exploration to tread lightly and have compassion for all the beings in all the worlds, whatever that means. I think, and knowing this place has been here has been really anchoring for me, because I've been living in this kind of glass and steel office world with computer screens and plastic plants, and it's not the world I want to live in. Fortunately, I remembered having seen John Constable give a talk years ago, and I bought a copy of the Southwark Mysteries for a friend, and something rang a bell when I moved into the office around the corner. I came and found this place, and I kind of found you lot, and thank you so much for being here and doing this. So I don't think beings from the world of artificial intelligence may have been invoked at these gates before, and it's a strange thing to talk about. But like I said, there's something very odd going on, and we are moving into a new time. And I just hope everyone can remember to focus on love and compassion and anchoring ourselves to the world, this world, as well as the world of the dead. So if that wasn't too confusing or overwhelming.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good advice. Yeah, we can walk around with our heads in the air, but it's really important to keep our feet on the ground. Does anybody else want to offer anything? No more sacred offerings, right? What we're going to do now then is we're going to enact the last of our rituals, which is the closing ceremony. We perform 2 blessings. Andy, tell them what the blessings of the Kablokos is.
Goose made.
No, where it came from.
Oh, it came
because I
from-
said it all wrong last time.
Right. Okay. Thanks, Jen.
Please.
Spot.
Sorry, darling. It's you're among friends.
Yes. Well, a spiritual guide, a lady from Brazil. Come on, Jen, help me out here.
I can say who this is, this lady from Brazil, by the way.
I'm sorry, I've not been paying attention enough to,
I'm sailing
to with confidence tell you all about her. I mean, I'm sure I don't remember her name.
Sure.
Sorry, but you embarrassed me here.
I've embarrassed him. That's the first time ever. I'm so proud.
Sorry, someone else get it.
John went to Brazil. Shorty gave him a blessing. And that's one of the blessings. And the very last blessing of the evening is the goose blessing. What we do when we offer both the blessings, I've sealed us in with gin because we reclaim everything here. We reclaim what has been ours, and we reclaim the gin that was like the crack cocaine of the 19th century. Might have been the 18th century. But it got a very bad reputation. Penny a pint. Drunk, what was it? Drunk in a minute, dead drunk in 2 minutes, just dead in 3 weeks, something like that. It was a poem. Okay, so what we're going to do now, we get as close as we possibly can to the gates. Hold on to the gates as if they were your last support. If you can't touch the gates, touch somebody that's touching the gates, and that'll be good enough. And we'll complete.
Life, health,
Happiness.
Open
pathways, life, health,
Health.
Happiness. Open pathways.
Open pathways.
Health in the body.
Health in the body.
peace in the
Peace in the
spirit,
spirit.
Peace in the spirit.
Love in the heart.
Love in the heart.
This is this that we wish.
It is this that we wish.
Love in the heart. It is this that we wish.
It is this we wish.
For ourselves.
ourselves,
For our friends and
friends and
family.
Family.
For all our brothers and sisters.
for our
Lots of
brothers and sisters, for the goose and the crow,
The crow.
The crow.
and for all humanity,
And for all humanity.
All humanity.
for ourselves,
for ourselves,
for our friends and family,
our
For our
friends
friends and family.
for all our siblings,
For our
for
siblings.
our
the
siblings,
goose and the
goose and the
crow,
The goose and the
and
crow.
for all humanity.
And for all
And for
humanity.
all humanity.
For the last
May it be so.
blessing.
May it be so.
may it be so.
Goose, may you never be hungry.
Goose,
may
may
you
you
never
never
be
be
hungry.
hungry.
Thirsty.
Goose, may you never be thirsty.
Fly free.
Goose, may your
spirit
spirit
fly
fly
free.
free.
And so she does.
And so she does.
she does.
Does.
Thank you so much, everybody, for coming out on such a cold night. Poor Zoom people must be absolutely frozen
Oh,
stiff.
freezing.
Very tough.
Thank you so much. Thank you for your time, for your offering. Thank you for your dedication. Thank you for being a good summer. I've got a couple of short notes. I'll say goodbye to the Zoom. We've already said goodbye to them.
Thank you, Jen.
Bye
She's
bye.
gone. Gone. Everyone. I've just, Drew would like to give it. Would you still like to do your offering, Drew? I've
Yeah.
let people know on Facebook. So Facebook,
wanna hear
people,
it.
thank you for being here. And do hang around because we're just going to hear an offering from Drew, which would be lovely. Over to you, Drew. Shall I spotlight you? Let me spotlight you. There we go.
Thank you. So this is very much a thing of offering what's inspired me, an offering of great, the poem itself isn't bawdiness, but it's inspired by a very bawdy poet, Robert Burns, who of course is having his birthday celebrated this week with Burns Night. And we had Burns Night early at a friend's in Highgate on Saturday. And so on the day, with a little thanks to Saraswati and her inspiration, I wrote this, which is a sequel to a Burns Night haggis hunting tale entry I made a few years ago that I called Donald and Sons, named after a brand of haggis that you can actually buy in Lidl, but you can obviously guess what connection I thought I'd make comedically when I saw Donald and Sons. So,
Donald Trump.
indeed. So I wrote this as a sequel, which I suppose you could say is also a little call to revolution in itself. So not very bawdy, but definitely very goosey in that sense. The end of Donald and Sons. Your days are numbered, Donald and Sons. Ye shall nae herd Haggai much longer. And you have been the cruelest, fearingest beasties, and the case to lock you all up gets stronger. Evading your taxes was rather naughty. A few million extra kept spare. But farming hundreds of Haggai on your golf course, no true Scots people shall bear. I hear also there were classified documents on your properties you have been hiding. And no, I don't care how that may compare with those wee slip-ups by President Biden. Making profit from federal property, did you ken? That you could get away with such a crime, hen? Of your innocence in all this, you talk shite. So we're coming to fetch your haggis one soon coming night. Between Locks and Burns we had believed. Perhaps Donald and Sons could find enlightenment. But when you keep Haggai on your golf course, all that you deserve is another indictment. Och, they'll plead no guilt, of course, and we can, that they could make up every excuse. And wouldn't ye bet it's one more thing they're going to tell their wee cult is fake news. And that's no the only crimes of Donald and Sons. Oh, no. When you add up each single indictment, we find the cherry on top of this shit cake is insurrection incitement. See, Donald and Sons care not for any laws. And what should we do with lawless fake herders? I say we send them down. They can share an oubliette for as long as the sentence for murder. With 16 hours on the end. So if any of ye be thinking of forming a war band, count me in. If ye want to try it, we can turn that Trump golf course into a new Bannockburn, or maybe Culloden. Either way, I predict a riot. Let's tear down the walls of the cruel anti-Hanna, make him pay for his crimes against haggis, and we'll set them all free, but keep one for you and me, and drag Donald and Sons to the outer Hebrides. Aye, the days are numbered for Donald and Sons. They shall nae herd Haggai much longer. They have been the cruelest, fearingest beasties, and the case to lock 'em all up is only getting stronger. Lock 'em up! Lock 'em up! Lock up the wee orange beastie. Thank you.
Yay!
Loved it, Drew. Really brilliant. Really enjoyed that.
That
Thank
was
you.
fabulous.
Whoop,
Thank
whoop,
you
whoop.
very much.
So that's won me a second haggis hunting tale
That's very good.
contest.
Haggai
And,
is my new my
I love
favorite
it.
word.
Haggai. Yeah.
Yes,
Love
yeah,
it,
it's used quite commonly at Burns nights for
Haggai.
anyone who is Scottish or just pretending to be. And the link to the to the original Donald and Sons I shall post in the comments on this Facebook Live
Yes,
afterwards.
please. Fabulous. Yes, do that, definitely. So,
Okay.
would anyone else like to offer anything, or shall we end? Thank you everyone for being here. I'm going to stop the live stream to Facebook, if that's all right. So bye bye Facebook. There were quite a lot of people joining us on Facebook, so thank you for being here. I'll just stop that and then I'll bye bye.
Bye, Facebookers.
There we are. And now I'm going to stop the recording if I can remember how to do it.